Hi everyone, welcome to Art Break Live. I'm Susie Wolf and I work in the Education Department at the Baltimore Museum of Art. And today we're going to take a look at works of art by an artist named Valerie Maynard, who has an exhibition going on at the BMA called Valerie Maynard Lost and Found. She's an 83-year-old artist who was born in Harlem and for the last 20 years has lived and worked in Baltimore. She's a printmaker and a sculptor and a teacher, and today we're going to take a look at some of her works of art, in some cases that are political in nature, in which she speaks out against injustices, as well as some works of art that are personal, that are created as tributes to loved ones. Now, as I talk about the works of art and you see them, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and type them below and I'll take a look at them when we get to the live portion of our program. So the first work of art that I'd love for us to look at together is called No Apartheid Anywhere. And it's from the No Apartheid series that the artist began in the 1980s. And I'd love for you to take a look at other works of art in this series. You can do that now while I just talk for a minute about apartheid. And that was from 1948 until 1994. The majority white South African government put in place legalized discrimination against black South Africans, forcing them off their land to work, to live and work in areas that the government had set aside for them. And this discrimination resulted in violence against black South Africans and untold deaths. So as we look at No Apartheid Anywhere, and it is a large work of art. It's about 3.5 feet by 9 feet, so it's a commanding work of art. As we look at it, you go from left to right, you'll see what look like 7 heads and chests of figures going across the page. They're very large in scale, but they seem to be have to conform to the edges of this paper. They're contained in a way that they seem to have very little ability to move around and lack freedom. That idea of freedom is so important to Valerie Maynard. In fact, she said that every human being knows that you cannot ask for freedom. It comes with birth. So for those who did not have freedom, in this case, the black South Africans, she was using this work of art as a political statement in support of them. And it can certainly function as a political statement today as we think about current protests against racial injustice. So if you look at how this work of art was made, it is spray painted acrylic over some various objects that Valerie Maynard collected and put down on the paper and then spray painted over. In some cases painted very darkly, and some cases with just a light mist that just gives a hint of the object below. So she layered and painted and layered and painted to create these forms in this work of art, No Apartheid Anywhere. And so if you look closely, I think you'll be able to get a sense of some of the objects that Valerie Maynard worked with. And as I looked closely at the work on paper, I saw a hook, a chain, metal grate, a 2-person crosscut saw, a blade for a table saw, a skillet, and nails. Now I want you to keep the way the artist used the nails in mind, because we're going to see that as a material that she uses in the next 2 artworks. And in this case, she essentially makes them, she uses them to create what looks like hair sticking up on top of one of the figures. And let me just say that when we go to the live portion of this program, I'm going to show you a way to make a work of art look to be in a similar style as this spray painted technique without the mess of the acrylic paint by using rubbings of objects and layering those rubbings together to create what looks like a technique that is similar to Valerie Maynard's. All right, so let's go to take a look at this amazing sculpture called Mourning for Maurice that was very personal in nature. And here we can see the sculpture as it stood in Valerie Maynard's house before it was moved to the Baltimore Museum of Art for the exhibition. Valerie made this work of art about 50 years ago, following the death of her friend Maurice. And so she carved those closed eyes and the nose and the mouth using tools similar to those that are here, this photo was taken in her studio. So we see her use of nails here, don't we? She has hammered in nails to different lengths, and they're bent to create what look like wiry hair and a wiry beard on the face of Maurice. And where she didn't hammer in those nails, it create what looks like sort of a bald spot on Maurice's head. So this hammering in of nails is very similar to what is done to Nkizi power figures in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so these figures have blades and nails hammered into them as a way to call down the spirit, a spirit to embody the power figure. And I wonder if, in the same way that these nails and blades were hammered into a power figure to call down a spirit, if Valerie Maynard wanted to call down the spirit of her friend Maurice close to her. So let's take a look at one final object. And this is another spray painted work of art from the No Apartheid series. And here we see that the artist has used groups of nails to create things like the nose and the eyes, and then the skin and the hair. So just as we've seen her use this very simple everyday material in both No Apartheid Anywhere and Mourning for Maurice, we see her use it here to create a complete visage of a person. All right, so thank you for looking at these works of art with me, and I'll come back to you live in a second and take your questions. Hey everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. And I have to say, I apologize for our glitch today. It was a technical issue, and you're very kind to come back if you tried at 2 o'clock to see us, and we appreciate your coming back. So I had mentioned in the video that while spray painting with acrylic can be very messy, that there's a technique that can be done, a rubbing technique, that gives virtually the same effect as what we saw in No Apartheid Anywhere. So first I'm going to show you how my rubbing came, the final product, and then I'll talk to you about how it was made. So I created a very simple bird shape. And I overlapped, I created this background and then used my scissors for the eyes and closed them together again and rubbed to make a beak. And this was the screw that was part of. Couldn't use nails because nails were ripping through the paper, but I did find some needles, and so I'm using those. So let me show you what I used. And if you've been with me for other Art Break Lives, some of these materials will definitely look familiar to you. But to get the rubbing, the background rubbing, I used just a crayon that the paper off of and rubbed it there. And then I have a paper clip and some needles, and I used this little washer to make some rubbings of eyes there. Okay, so I'm looking forward to taking your questions. We'll wait just a second until something comes up, but I will say the most recent series that Valerie Maynard has is called, make sure I get it right. Oh, sorry, the Statue of Liberty series. I apologize. In which she goes back to, for some, the little known history of the Statue of Liberty as a commemoration of the end of slavery in the United States. And those images are beautiful. So I don't have those images here, but if you go online, you can see them. And so in some cases, the Statue of Liberty is vertical. In other cases, it looks like it's lying down. And there are symbols of death, and she'll put in images of chains and barbed wire so that we understand the position of Black Americans before the time of slavery. All right. So what I'm going to do, just really quickly, is to show you one more thing on my print. And that is, I used let me get myself set up here. I found that it was better to use a pad of paper underneath the rubbing, underneath the object, that I was going to rub, in order to kind of keep it in one place. The pad underneath seemed to stabilize it. So if I go like this, we get that image there, don't we? And so I can bring it down a little bit here, and we get that sort of look. If I wanted to add a little more sort of feathering to this area here by the eye, I could go across it like that and get more. Or since I told you that I tried with nails and the nails did not work, I found these needles and we get that effect when they're rubbed. Let me get what it looks like that. All right. So thank you very much for joining us today. I will say that our next Art Break Live is Thursday, August 6th. You can join us then at 2 o'clock. And we're going to be doing a really great program on acrobats. And we have actually a fair number of acrobats in the collection, and we're going to be showing a lot of images and also some video. So thanks very much for joining, and we'll see you in August.